A warm welcome to First Move. Here is today's Need to Know. Priority partners Russian President Vladimir Putin and China's Xi Jinping in a show of unity in Beijing. Michael Cohen's cross-examination, Donald Trump's lawyer and his former fixer clash over a key phone call in the hush money trial. Market moment, the Dow briefly tops 40,000 for the first time ever. And Seoul space out, the contestants in South Korea hoping that doing nothing at all will lead them to victory. All that and much more coming up. But first, the Russian president is in northeastern China as he begins his second day of a state visit. On Thursday, Vladimir Putin met with the Chinese leader, the two vowing to deepen their relationship, issuing a joint statement saying, quote, Russian-Chinese relations stand the test of rapid changes in the world, demonstrating strength and stability, and are experiencing the best period in their history. This is President Putin's first foreign trip since he secured a fifth term in office. Ivan Watson joins us live in Hong Kong with the latest. So China certainly rolling out the red carpet for the Russian leader in what is his first overseas trip since securing another term in office. What does this say about the relationship between these two leaders, these two countries? And what can we expect on day two of this visit, Ivan?
Right. Well, it says that these are two leaders of two giant neighboring countries who share a very similar worldview, and that involves deep suspicion and resentment, frankly, of the role that the U.S. Has had in the world ever since World War II, effectively. And they stood side by side and they decried what they described as a Cold War mentality, a unilateral hegemony. What they're calling for is what they say would be a more just multipolar world. And that's something that they repeated over and over again as they insisted that what they're enjoying right now between Russia and China is kind of the best period ever in their bilateral relations.
They call it the partnership with no limits. China's president warmly welcoming his good friend Vladimir Putin. The Russian leaders celebrated in Beijing at a ceremony complete with a military salute and rapturous school children. Two leaders who shared deep distrust of the U.S. agreeing to strengthen their comprehensive strategic partnership, a move that worries current and former U.S. officials.
This alignment of authoritarians is it's a portent of challenges ahead unless we in the West really double down and make sure that we are reinforcing democracy, reinforcing this global liberal order.
Hanging over this summit, Russia's grinding war in Ukraine. After Putin's full-scale invasion in 2022, the U.S. and Europe imposed sanctions, isolating Moscow. But China gave Russia an economic lifeline. Trade between the two countries hit a record high last year. China buys up Russian oil and gas while flooding the Russian market with Chinese goods like cars and trucks.
I think Chinese leadership are very smart, playing on Putin's ego, massaging it, and having for cheap Russian energy resources, and Russia become a very important market for Chinese second row and third row companies and banks.
Putin and Xi Jinping both talk of creating a new, non-US-centric world order. But so far, China has held back from providing the Russian military with bombs and bullets to use on the Ukrainian battlefield. That's because directly arming Russia would threaten China's much more valuable trade with the European Union, a close ally of Ukraine. In fact, there are limits to China's support for Putin's war machine.
The Chinese side looks forward to the early restoration of peace and stability on the European continent and will continue to play a constructive role to that end.
The Russian president's close Chinese friend knows a never-ending war is not good for business.
So, Lynda, the two leaders have called for increased military to military cooperation, as well as more kind of cultural and economic ties. Vladimir Putin on Friday will be traveling to the Chinese border city of Harbin to meet with university students, for example, there. But they also have, you heard the Chinese leader Xi Jinping saying that we cannot have a world heading towards any form of nuclear conflict. And it's notable that Vladimir Putin has multiple times rattled, has made overt kind of nuclear threats when it comes to his confrontation with the West. Observers say that Vladimir Putin very much is a junior partner in this partnership. He needs China much more right now than China needs Russia, though, of course, Xi Jinping has been very respectful in these meetings that the two leaders hold time and time again. There is a belief that the Russians would like a second pipeline, for example, constructed from Russia to China via Mongolia. This is the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline, and some observers are saying that the fact that the head of the Russian energy giant Gazprom, that he was not part of Russia's delegation, of Putin's delegation, that he was in Iran instead, suggests that Moscow is not getting what it wants, a Chinese agreement to build another pipeline. Another indicator, perhaps, that Putin wants more from China than it is willing to give its close friend. Linda.
Great analysis there. Ivan Watson for us in Hong Kong. Thanks so much.